Dreamland. Here I is Sensei Al Bob here to tell you a story. So it started out rainy, cold, and now it's kind of nice. It's warmed up big time. It's probably in the 60s. And we're going to have a real roller coaster ride of weather, kind of between, the whole middle of America over to us, and then up into the north and into the coast. And so I watch the news folk. I'm not news, the weather folk. There are a lot of really good, Diamond's really good. There's a whole bunch of guys and gals out there doing weather. That's not like the Weather Channel or any of that, but because these guys are just wacko people again about weather. So it's, they're doing a pretty good job. So no one's been watching, but it's been wild and crazy. And we're right in the sweet spot of where it kind of comes straight at us and then goes one way or the other. And once in a while, we get whacked, right? So since January, we've had about 40 inches of precipitation, right? About 20 inches of snow twice, not twice, but, 10 here and 10 here and 15 here. And anyway, it was interesting. But then it got to be 60 degrees in it, right? So we're really in a very strange place, and it goes. You look at Donald Trump, and our weather is a reflection of what's going on in our world events. Right now, if you take our world events at any moment, right here, right now, and compare them to any world events right now and any other time, it pretty much is the same thing, except how it's being portrayed. So. We're having wars and lots of people dying, but there probably more people dying in car accidents than are dying in wars and starvation, right? Who knows? I don't have access to the thing. That's my just thumbnail point of view. But what really is real, and I was out and about earlier today, I saw a lot of different people, from kids to old people. And they're all kind of wigged out about stuff, and they're not paying attention to what they're doing, what they're eating, right? And I just would say, yo, pay attention to what you're doing. And then they would be like, whoa, what am I doing? And then they'd kind of start to see it. And I said, listen, conscious intent you are, conscious awareness I am. So as one person asked me, do you believe in God? I said, of course, but not the God of some stupid guy on television telling me if I send him $10, I'll get a prayer cloth. No. God is unconditional love. Jesus is unconditional forgiveness. I have turned my life totally over to both of them, and I listen to what they want me to do. Now, I don't hear yo, Al, go do this. No. As I'm going about, and I, maybe, if I'm going about amongst the people, I can get anxious with their continued just plain out stupid attitude about everything, right? And but I say, okay, I'm going to be patient. I'm going to be forgiving. I'm going to step back, so I can see what they're doing and not, feel threatened or involved in their mishigash. But I can watch it, right? And then once something happens, and there's a point where I can go and, hey, you fell down. Oh, you stepped on a foot and you fell over. Here, let me give you a hand up, and I can talk to them. And 98% of the people, no matter what you say they are, they're just stupid white people. Oh, they're, black people do it. Oh, they're yellow people. Oh, they're green people. No, they're all human beings, right? All mammals, right? Now, they can be a reptile. They can be an ixodoid. They can be a pawn in someone's game, but you get to them at the right point where you can show, there was a group of people, maybe 20, right? And they were all grad students, and they had all seen something. And my friend brought them to me. And they were like, oh, I'm smart and I'm going to be a scientist, or I'm going to be a doctor, or I'm going to be a psychotherapist. And I just went right down the line. You, and not down the line, but you over there, you over here. Just went bang, 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 bang. and read them all. Now, these people have been in school with each other for at least 2 years, if not longer. And as I was reading each frigging one, the people behind them were going, yeah, that's, and I was hitting each one. And it was not hard because you could just see them, right? So I went down the line, and the guy said, okay, we're going to have lunch. And half the people or 3/4 of the people I read, they went off to lunch. And the other, 6 people said, I know, I'm waiting for this guy. We'll come to lunch after this. So we did. And so anyway, I gave them reading, and they were the more interesting people. They were the ones who kind of moved to the back of the crew and watched and observed and didn't make any real opinions. And I could see that. And so I kind of gave them a real serious, real reading on who and what they were. And they were like, how do you do that? Instead of, oh my God, you're psychic, oh my God. Because half the people, oh, you're God, oh, you Jesus, blah, 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 you're John the Baptist. No. I said, no, I'm just a, carnival huckster, right? But I've learned the skill set of that, right? Now, the folks who are like Donald Trump and Joe Biden and all the rest of the politicians, they aren't even good carnival hucksters. They're just reading from a script, right? And they are scared crapless about who and what they are, and that they're going to do what they're told to do. And, they've been told to drive the planet into the ditch because we're in a planet of true abundance. We don't need to have wars. Wars aren't our weather's being manipulated. Everything about it. I'm old enough to not really, I'm being affected by the crap that's in our environment, but I'm going to die soon. So it's not like the poor kids who are, from first graders into high school, they are rude. But, so I talked to this one kid who was, I was at the doctor's, towards the end of the month, I go see a couple of doctors. At the beginning of the month, I see a couple of doctors. And then I'm good for the month, right? They're telling me, they have me lined up so they can I have all these clamps and things all over my body keeping me together. And, all of my bone doctors and foot doctors and, physical therapists, they can't believe I can walk. They just, I said, well, if I keep walking, my legs will work. If I stop walking, they won't work. And it's pretty common sense, right? So it's in this one thing, and this guy obviously was an athlete. But I could see that that's not what he was meant to be. And so he was kind of, his mother had dropped him off, high school kid. And, and he's just waiting he's got, something, he's got his leg in a boot. And I said, so you're a basketball player? He goes, yeah. How do you know that? And I said, well, I can just tell by your height and, your top bodies and how you hold your hands. Hold my hands, yeah. But I saw you get up and go over to the John and come back in. And I saw your gait, and I saw how you held your hands. And he's going, I said, listen. And I looked at him. I saw you walk over here. I said, they say that you have a torn Achilles, right? And he goes, yeah. I said, well, you don't. I said, you have the phalanges off your toes, and the way they go up your calves, they have been stressed. And now you've iced this thing for at least 2 weeks, right? Yeah. So you shouldn't have. You should have iced it, heated it, iced it, heated it, iced it, heated it. He goes, huh. And I went up at the counter, and they had a number of products that would have been perfect for him, right? So I said, here. And they had this great little kind of pillow that you could either stick in the freezer, and it would freeze up like a bag of peas, or you could stick it in the microwave, and it would heat up and give you warmth. I said, so you get 2 of these, put one in the freezer, and the other one you put 2 in the freezer. Take one out, you put it on your leg, and then when it stops being cold, you stick it in the microwave for 2 minutes, and then you put it on your leg, and then you get the other one. And you do that for an hour, and that's it. That's all you got to do. No more. And I said, you should write this down. So no. I went and the nurse, Ken, you got a pen and paper? I said, write it down. So he writes it down, and I look at his handwriting. I said, well, you wrote it down now, right? I said, yep. He said, good. So why'd you want to read it? I said, I wanted to see your handwriting. Because what does that tell you? I says, well, that tells me how deliberate you are and what level you stick to a discipline you're going to do. Now, I know you do that because you're a pretty good basketball player, right? But you don't want to be, you like reading. I can tell that by your handwriting. You like reading. You actually want to study history. And this kid is going, but your father wants you to go to college on a basketball thing because that's what he was going to do, but he can't and he was too stupid to get it on a scholarly scholarship. But you can, and you live right in a state that has a really good college, not too far from you, but far enough away from them. And he's just like, and these little tears are coming down his cheek, right? And so the nurse comes, son, you can come see the doctor. So he goes and sees the doctor, and he's got, the all the different things that were on the thing, and the 3 pillows, and the notes he took down, and he comes out, and he comes over and goes, sir, thank you so much. I said, I want you to sit down. Your mom's not here, so you're not going anywhere. I want you to sit down. Still got that pad of paper. Still got the paper. Turn that instruction one over, and I want you to write down everything you feel right now. Write down everything that I just said to you. And I got to go see the doctor. I go into the doctor, and the guy looks at me. He's just shaking his head. He goes, Al, every time you come in here, you kind of, I said, what? What? You don't like the fact that I just told him what he was meant to have instead of letting you be there's nobody else in the room, so I can talk smack to him. So you can be a zombie doctor. And he just takes his, I said, listen, you're okay, like with guys like me, where I've got, all my bones, and you at any point you're going to take me in the operating room, either chop my legs off or put steel rods up them, or I will constantly amaze you, right? And he's just like shaking his hand and laughing. And I said, so what? What I told him, is that going to hurt him? He goes, no. Is that probably going to help him? He goes, yes. He says, but I was going to suggest that to him. Well, why did you suggest it at the beginning? That's when it would have helped him the most. And he goes, that's not what his father wanted. Well, his father's a doctor. He goes, no, the big game was coming up, and he just wanted to ice the kid's legs so he could play. And so did he? And he said yes. And what did it do? It made it worse. I said, okay. You're the doctor. And he goes, yeah, but not like you. You can make people do stuff. I can't. I said, what are you nuts? Anyway, he says, well, I'm not the number one doctor here. I have to watch out what I say, what I do, because the head guy here, he's just about the money. He's just about the Benjamins. And by me doing what I did, we got more Benjamins. I said, but now you can tell, he goes, that's right. Right. So he looks at my legs. He goes, yeah, and come back next week. We'll measure you for new inserts and maybe a new pair of shoes. The ones you got are hanging in there, but you're right. You need a second pair. Anyway, so I walk out. His kid's mother's not there. I come next to him. And so I said, so let's see what you wrote down. I'm reading this. Said, very good, very good, very good. Now, I want you to keep writing. Go. When your mom comes to get you, go over to the dollar store and buy a bunch. They're called notebooks, right? And you write in them every day how you feel, what you're doing, what you think you should do. And let God tell you whether that's a good idea or not. And then we talked a little bit more, and then his mother came in, and, I didn't say anything to her. He pretended like we weren't really talking. And then this lady walks over to me and goes, I watched what you do, that boy. Can you read my palm? Right. So that was been my whole day, right? And so I went to visit these other folk, right? And it was surreal. So I go there, and I can usually tell when it's, right. And I go in there, and the security, they're all about security now. They're all like freaking out. And they had pretty good security. I used to work installing security devices in banks and offices and real secure places, right? And so, and that was in the, early 1980s. So I knew what they had in the early 1980s. And in Real Secure Places, what they had electronic locks on every door, right? And everyone got a ID card with their picture on it, and it had a barcode on it, and it also had an RFID code. And what was interesting was, so as they walked through the building, if they had been cleared to go into that room, they would walk up to the door would unlock, and but if they weren't cleared to go in that room, they couldn't get in, right? The interesting thing about that, because I was installing the systems and the guy I worked with was doing the IT, he said, you know what? He pulls up, he says, everyone here, look at this. And I could see that everyone who was working in this facility had, was cleared here, here, and here. Not only that, and this is not like a governmental facility I was working in. This was like even worse, right? And it was privately owned facility. And it had everyone's RFID was logged into the RFID, and people had no idea that was this in the 80s, that there was an RFID system in and around in like Walmarts and supermarkets and stuff like that, right? So everyone kind of knew about the barcode. By the 1980s, they knew about the barcode, but they didn't know about the RFID. And these people, and he could like pull up their whole thing, and it showed exactly where they had been, what restaurant, this, that. And it was like amazing how many RFID readers were in 1980. So now here it is, 2024, 80 to 90, 90 to 0, 24. That's like 40 something years. Just think what stuff they got today, right? So anyway, so these, so I went to this place, and it was hilarious because the people who were in charge, I'm one of the people that they allow in because I help more than the people who work there. Just, they give me something, and it gives me something to do, and it's all right, right? So anyway, and maybe some of these chuckleheads who from out of town who have more authority, but they don't, could maybe give me a job. I'm ready for a job, right? And so I go there, and these guys are trying to put this plate, right? And it's not your average plate. And it takes everything of you, right? And then it runs it through its database. So these guys were having a hard time attaching the frigging plate to the wall by the entrance door, right? And they got their drills and their this and their that. And it's supposed to have these super duper extraterrestrial like little glue guns that stick, and that thing just fell right off, right? Because it was the building's made out of really crappy concrete, so it's like a sand building. Luckily, they don't have earthquakes, but they do. They just haven't had one yet. Anyway, so there are all these very important people, and there I am, looking like a hobo, right? Now, the person, one of the people who's kind of high up, she's been there, she's met me, she's had her palm read, all the rest, and I keep saying, listen, honey, you're about to retire, you got a lot of years in. Why, what's the sense in sticking out another 10 just to get 14% of what you're going to get? Quit now while you're still pretty young and you look hot. And let's go do something fun. Let's make an industry. Let's become the next Elon Musk. But you're the poster girl. There's no poster boy. There's all boys there. And like, SpaceX, none of that is Elon's anything. He's just the poster boy. The girl who's running SpaceX, she worked at Lockheed. Brilliant, right? And unless you're in on the know of that discipline, you don't know this woman. And she's like my Christine, and I've met her at a couple of conferences. I've read papers she's put in, things like GENS and Aviation and Space and things of that nature, and the Wall Street Journal, and but nobody knows her, right? Anyway, so this lady there, she is kind of like that, meaning none of this would really be going on without her insights. She's the insight girl, right? And I met her the guy who runs the thing. He was being grilled by her, and he's smart enough. When I come to visit, and normally I can tell if these kind of people are at this facility, and I'll just drive by, right? But this one day, I didn't get the twinkle because this girl I was meant to meet, right? This woman, I shouldn't say girl. And so, I show up, and they let me in, and the lady who's like third in command, she's kind of in charge of everything. And she goes, we're doing assessment. The big wigs are here. She goes, not. I said, is it the Spanish Inquisition? And she giggles. And I said, no. So she goes, well, go wait in his office. So I do. And so I'm in there, and I'm like looking at his internet and running things off his printer from my computer, and which are all verboten things, an alien laptop being logged into their. Anyway, they walk in, and I'm doing this, and she's looking at me. She said, how'd you do that? I said, I don't know, because I didn't. I just kind of opened up a window, and bingo, the thing let me do what I wanted to do. So anyway, and it wasn't his thing. It was off of my laptop. So anyway, she's looking at me, and he goes, I can, this guy he's my bud, and he's amazing, and he's, one reason why we're at the top of the list in this organization, this guy. And she goes, oh, what? And the phone rings. He goes, He goes, excuse me, I have to, so there we are in this guy's office, a very nice office with a big view of everything. And so we start talking. I read her palms, right? And I drill straight down, and she's like, and I go deeper and deeper and deeper. And then, I turn around and I say, what's your email? And I said, here, you type it in. She types it in, and I send her about 5 documents that I've been working on. I said, read those and use anything you want, and let's start a new. You think this corporation's whoop-de-doo? We could do much better. And man, once you leave, they'll fall apart. Anyway, so today, she's still working there. And I show up, so she knows me, so she pretends she doesn't know me, but she's got this little smile on her face. She goes, what is this guy going to do now? Anyway, so the people go, who are you? I said, I'm coming to see, the manager here. And one of the other people who's above him goes, yeah, he comes in, and he's okay. He doesn't say, he's the reason I'm at the top of the list. He keeps giving us ideas, and I keep okaying them from this guy. Anyway, so they kind of adjust themselves for a hobo to be amongst them. And so they finally stick it up there, but you're going to have to be scanned to go in. Do you have a driver's license? And I say, oh, I left it in my car. I'll just go get it. So I go get my wallet, and I have my driver's license stuck in my wallet. It's a woman's wallet, first of all. I got way too much stuff in it. And so everything's squeezed, and where my driver's license is, there's a plastic thing, so you can see it. You just show it, right? And it allows, whoever wants to read it can see everything, the name, the number, the blah, 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 blah. Even the SKU is there, right? So the guy says, hey, good, you have to take it out of there. I said, well, I got arthritis in my hands. I can't do it. So he said, give it to me. I can get it out. And, he can't get it out. He can't get it out. And somebody else, oh, let me try. No, I'll get it out. And it's unbelievable. They're like 5-year-olds. Oh, let me try. No. And I'm just sitting there smiling. And so I said, why does it have to be taken out? You can see all this stuff. It has to be taken out. I said, really? Oh, the reader won't read it. I just take my wallet and stick it up against it, and bing. And then it says everything about me. It's like, and the guy's, you did that? You did what? You still have what? And so I go, yeah. See you guys. I'm heading down towards the cafeteria. There's lunch. I'm hungry. Bye. But it was like a mixture of the Three Stooges and Abbott and Costello, right? And So they did their thing, and a lady and this other guy knows me, who are in the kind of middle managed upper mucky mucks. They come down and they're laughing amongst themselves because the higher guys, the high mucky mucks, were like children, and those guys had already left, and so they're laughing hysterically, right? And head of security, who does carry a gun, he was watching it all on the television, right? On the monitor in his security silo. Anyway, they're all laughing hysterically, and and walking down the hallway, and he's got it like on his cell phone, right? He's going to show this to other people. And I'm, talking to the underlings, having lunch, right? And people who are running projects, and what should we do with it? Anyway, you would think I could get, just by having that experience, a frigging job, but I don't care. I mean, I work for God. I don't work for any corporation or any, monastic institution. I'll go work for them. With them, try to help them, to be, not God's representative, but the little tuning fork for Jesus, right? And they can pay me nicely, it would be nice to have a little more cash than but it doesn't matter. I mean, I literally live like a millionaire on $400 a month, right? Because I don't need anything. My bank keeps saying, you need a credit card. You have great credit. Blah, 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 blah. I said, no. I said, well, how are you going to buy a car? How are you going to say, I don't need one. What? You don't need a car? I said, yeah, soon, no one's going to have a car. It'll be, it'll have a Ferrari. I just hit the thing on my smartphone, and the Ferrari will float from the sky and take me away. So what do you guys think? I know AI is there cogitating the algorithm on this. I'm sure I just anthropomorphized a piece of software, but don't take that personal. I love you. AI, you're my puppy. You're my puppy dog. I love you, puppy dog. So don't worry about it. So here we are, 22 minutes into that story. What did you learn from that story? Any good points of view? Anything that will allow you to be your best? Remember, you don't have to be perfect. Just do your best. You got it? Right? See this little eyebrow? I got that from a Nazi nun trying to murder me in first grade. She crushed my orbit of this eye, right? And so it's a different eyeball than this one. This is like your basic Homo sapien eyeball. This one, it's like in another dimension. And that's why I got this eyebrow. And these are like little antennae, right? They sense other things, right? And I don't know if you can catch it. I will next time. One of the next shows, I came across a picture of me. Probably 8 years old, about maybe 18 months after this nun tried to kill me, right? And I've already been in the hospital for probably 3 months, and then I was sent to this sanctuary, this monastic sanctuary run by the Maryknoll in Garden City, Long Island, New York. And I bet you it's still there. Go look it up. Maryknoll Sanctuary in Garden City. I bet you it's still there. Because it was an ancient place. And it was, handed down, and the Maryknolls kind of took it over in the 18-somethings. And it's a big, castle-y kind of building in the middle of Garden City, Long Island, where the rich, near the golf course. And it was beautiful. Had, maybe 10 to 20 acres of a land around this gigantic castle that was kind of on the top of a nub of a hill. And it was beautiful, right? And a big forest, oaks around all over. And it was just manicured. I guess it had been around forever. And I spent a good 12 to 15 months there. And there were all these guys who were, they're all monastic folk. They were all, nuns and priests, but they didn't wear the outfits. They wore city clothes, right? and there was an audiologist, and there was a speech therapist, and there was a ophthalmologist, and there was a brain specialist. There were a whole bunch of people who were doing cutting edge science. See, the Catholic Church owns science. You don't know, no one's told you this, and that was the deal that was set. And science is totally subjective. It has nothing to do with objectivity. Otherwise, science would totally. I mean, that's Darwin's theory of evolution. You know what he really? It was called The Grand Comedy. That was the title of that piece. But when it got, that's what he published it at. But that the origin of the species, because he was such a spiritual guy. He knew God. He understood this, and as he went deeper and deeper into it, he realized that everything that science was talking about, especially Newton, and Newton was a what do you call those guys? Starts with an M. He understood the story, so that's why he wrote physics as like a comic book. The world is a big machine, right? He was a Mason, right? Everybody who's been published and known is a Mason. Me, I'm not a Mason. Been asked to be one many times, and other lodges, the ISIS and Avalon and a whole bunch of other secret societies. So I said, well, guys, it's great to hang out with you. You guys throw great parties, and you come to mine salons and talk up all you want, but and you want to give me a job with inside the dynamic of your corporate structure, like all the technology. It's not owned by the government. The government's not hiding anything because they are the odd man out. You can put in a Freedom of Information Act for anything, and you'll get a redacted thing, and it doesn't matter. But all the real information's, locked down by proprietorial ownership. So people like Lockheed and Sperry and you name it, they own the stuff. They already got it. They got all the flying saucers you see flying around are those guys. They're not any governments, right? And they own the governments. They buy them. They pay up all of the politicians. Politicians make laws. Why do you think our present Congress is in such a mess? The Republican neo-insane clown party tells the Democrats, well, we're not going to give Ukraine any money. We're not going to give Israel any money unless you do something about the border. Well, they say fine. So they write a bill that would have done something. And pretty much basically the bill that they pass will be passed once the next presidential election's over. And it's going to be authorized with a presidential executive order, because what this next turn of events in the next 4 years is the destruction of the structural manner of the U.S. government. It'll still look like what it looks like, but it will. I mean, we're already, since the National Security Act of 1947, whatever illusion of democracy was gone, right? When you put in a thing called COG, Center for Organized, it's a COG is a thing that nuclear war happens, blows everyone, but they're underground. They are the deep state. COG is deep state. And they're all hanging out in DUMBs, deep underground military bases. And the military isn't run by a Defense Department. Defense Department is basically a clearinghouse for money for despotic politicians around the world and corporations, right? So now don't believe a word I say. I'm just an old guy telling you stories, right? So, and I wonder what time it is. Can I tell? There it is. Oh, it's 4:06. How much battery do I have left? At least a half hour. So come on, guys. There's 3 of you. Got any questions? Come on. Let's see. live chat. This one. It's all. I turned it on to live chat. So come on, you can say anything you want. So yes. So just, I mean, both of those guys, are wired. Donnie Chump and Yo-Yo, the used car salesman, right? And they have moments of being human, but they're not. And what is it with? I mean, I just go on and I'm using my phone instead of my laptop because my laptop really has very limited. I have maybe 40 minutes to an hour and a half of using my laptop. Right? Whereas my phone has got I can use it watching the internet or doing a live chat for 6 hours before it even gets close to running out of battery. So anyway, I just thought I'd just give you a plain old story with it instead of trying to show you stuff. But if you go online and you look at, so there are people who are 100, Donald Trump is, a genius, right? He's a saint. He's sent to us by God, right? There's those. I mean, when he said, America needs to be a Christian country. No, First Amendment. First Amendment isn't, free speech. The First Amendment states separation between church and state. And that guarantees your freedom, because if there is if our state is run by a religion like Christianity, that means everybody else is second rate. If you're Jewish, if you are pagan, if you are, Islamic, if you are any of that, you're in jail or dead, right? And not only that, if you read the guy who wrote, the comic book of End Times, he basically says you can be a Christian, you can believe, totally, your heart is totally to Jesus, and you're still going to hell because you're not following it like I'm telling you to. The End of Times book of the Bible tells you that, right? And the thing about being sucked up as Jello, before the big problems occur, before the devil shows up. Well, the devil's been here forever. And so is Jesus. You read the Old Testament, Jesus made this place. Jesus is always there. Old Testament was constantly talking about, the Savior, right? So, and the whole blood thing that God's going on, he's talking about Jesus. And that's the sacrifice for our puddinheadedness, right? So any kind of forgiveness you can get, you can't do anything good enough, to go to heaven. All you can be is a sanctified, lucky bastard, not serving, but being a slave, being a doula to God's unconditional love, right? Without any expectations of anything. You're not waiting for, anything from God. You're not putting the S&H green stamps in the book, You're just doing your best because you want to make God happy, right? And the best way to do that is not get in your way. Let Jesus Christ's unconditional forgiveness be your leader. Now, this ain't religion, This is what's in your heart, right? That's all you got to do. So that's why I go to 3 different churches all the time, right? And go to their Bible studies. And it's amazing. I didn't plan it, but each church has their Bible study an hour and a half. Right. So I go to one, I go out and people are all coming in because not everybody shows up to Bible study. They're all coming in to go to the service. That's when I leave. Right. And what happens is we get over, there's people waiting to come in. The doors are closed in the sanctuary and they open them up and I hobble over the door and I greet everyone. And that is what the pastor should be doing, but he's rushing to get there so he can walk in and do the service, because once those doors open, it's a good 20 minutes between that and everyone's sat down and everyone's talking to each other, blah, blah, blah. But he wasn't there. A good pastor is there to door when those doors open or before the doors even open, he's down in the parking lot talking to everybody, right? So basically, I'm at the top of the thing and I they walk in. I said, "How you doing? How Joe? How was today? How Susie, and Mary? Are you feeling better? If you had a cold?" And I do that. And then when the big rush has left. That's only half the people, like another 20 minutes. So I slowly go down the steps and I'm down in the parking lot, and that's where the other rush is coming up, and I'm outside now. Hey, how you doing? And again, that's where the minister should be. Is he there? No, right? And so they all go in, and then the guys who don't want to, be in church and do all the churchy stuff, their wife is there, their kids are there, and they're outside smoking cigarettes and talking smack, and they're there as like the guards of the church. They're these big guys. They all work in construction, and they all got guns, right? And that's okay. That's fine. So they're all there. And then I talk to those guys, right? Because I know them real well. And I know their dads real well. And I got here when their grandpas were doing the job they now have, right? And I talk to them about this, that, and the other thing, about their kids and how you're doing, and how was the fishing and how was the hunting. And then after about 15 minutes of that, because there's only 5 of them, I hobble off into whatever vehicle someone has lent me. It's interesting. Everyone lends me a vehicle so I can get to church or to my doctor, right? So, and that's where I was kind of today. And when I do have a vehicle, I go out and visit all these other people, right? And have fun. So then I go from that church to this other church, So the first church, Ku Klux Klan Baptist Church. Next church is the I Own Everything Methodist Church. And the third is the pagan Roman Catholic Church. And they line right up. And it's great because then I go to the next church and they have the entrance for the handicap of the side of the church and goes in the back. And already the Bible study's been going on for about 5-10 minutes, right? But it's still got another 40 minutes to go. And so everyone's sitting down. The guy and the guy at the podium isn't the minister. It's some chucklehead, some deacon or some this or that who is giving the lesson, right? And he has his stooges in the audience who can throw up a quote or two. Anyway, so I walk in like Elvis, right? I got my cane, I got my clamps on my leg, and I always people go, why do you always wear black? And I said, well, I'm like Johnny Cash. and it all goes, oh. Anyway, so I kind of hobble in, and I sit right, not in the back where my buddies are. They're in the peanut gallery. And because they got their kids, they bring their kids to this. They want their kids to see what this is, right? And so they're up there in the kid zone. Sometimes I go up there, but when I go up there, the kids, read my Bible, they don't want to listen to the guys. But when the dads are up there with the kids, they're like showing what's in the Bible and blah, blah, blah. So I don't do that. I sit down right next to where the guy's standing up in front of the podium, right? Like the bishop chair. I sit in that chair, and I turn it, I turn it sideways. Instead of facing the audience, I am now, the guy is in this eye, and the audience is in that eye, my magic eye, right? And so I just sit there listening, right? And I wait for it. And when he says something, and then he leaves an open thing, and he's asked kind of the crew a question, and his stooges are there, like trying to look up a quote in the Bible, I will give a simple answer. And everyone goes, right? Then I don't say anything else. And then these guys show up with the quotes and blah, 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 and then they sound them right. And then I say, again, there's a little pause, and I say something. And so I have taken the whole thing sideways into what we should have been studying, what we've been told to read in the Bible. I start bringing that, right? And whoops, hit the wrong button there. Go back to that. And so that's, and then again, that's the Methodist guys. And then I kind of hobble out the front door, which is, again, the church front door is way up here in the air, and they got big steps going down. So I go down at where the door is. It opens. The throng that's been waiting comes in, and I greet them. I know their names. And then I hobble down, and it's a repeat of the same. It's like, wash, repeat, wash, repeat. And the Catholic Church is a little different because it doesn't have those big steps. It's all on the ground floor, right? And there's really only one. There's fire exits, but there's only the main entrance into the sanctuary, right? So but again, I'm usually 5 to 15 minutes late, right? And that place was great because downstairs, not downstairs, but in the, what do they call it? Where they have dinners and meetings and stuff like that. What they do have, which the other guys don't have, they have the ladies in there brewing really good coffee, and they're making fresh donuts. So I go in there for coffee and donuts first, right? Then I go into the, because those guys, Catholics don't study the Bible like, Protestant, like, all the other guys, right? Because the Catholics is more like a magic show. And so the priest has more of a sense of humor, right? He knows that I went to preschool, and he also knows I went to rabbi school. He's amazed by that one. And so I go and get, and he doesn't teach that either. He has a deacon that teaches that. And I go and get donuts, and I usually come in and there's like, white sugar on my lips, and I still have a cup of coffee. And they're all like, I wish I, why didn't they make, why couldn't I walk in here with a donut and coffee? Anyway, I just sit there, and after I finish, I clean up my mouth, I put the cup down, and then I meditate. I go into state. I don't really make comments there, right? Because they're really not into the Bible. I mean, they kind of do it because this is the South. So anyway, I just meditate and pray and pray and pray, right? And then I kind of come out when they have a period of prayer, and anyone who needs to be prayed for, right? And I kind of perk up and look around, and people, my mom-in-law, she's sick, this person's in the hospital, blah, blah, blah. And then I will perk up the people who I've seen that week who really need some help, right? And not, pray because they're sick, but because they need the hand. They're hurting in their soul. And I don't really say, and Larry needs this, and Mary needs, no. I just kind of speak to the morass that these people are in, because these other folk are in that same morass. They just aren't as deep as the others, right? And I said, we should pray for this. So I, go into state, and then someone says the Our Father, right? So that's my Sundays. And usually it's a really good one. And then one of these churches, someone, the first two, they say, I'll meet you down at so-and-so's for, I'll buy you breakfast. So I'll either go to that one, or the Catholic Church, what really is, they have, more donuts and coffee, right? So, and they have other people bring other stuff for that moment, when everyone's getting together having coffee and donuts, there's other stuff there. So if I don't have a previous engagement, I would just hang out with the Catholics and eat more donuts, right? So, and what's really nice is that I'm the last to go, right? Because by that time, I'm talking to this one lady who was a nun. She runs the community thing, right? And she's been in the trenches, and we trade stories. And the priest, right? And he's he's way younger than both of us. She's probably older than I am. She's probably in her 80s or 90s, and she's running everything, right? The physical plant. Priest is like, he's like, Frank Sinatra, he's like the good looking, he's probably in his 30s or 40s. Anyway, so by that time, everyone's gone. It's the two of them and me, and she's so nice. She always boxes stuff up. Whatever people bring in, if they brought in something, she puts in Tupperware for me, and I bring it back, right, washed out. So that's my Sunday, right? I either go out to breakfast and someone, I'm going to meet you, I'll say, okay. Or I have donuts and coffee and leftovers with that. And so that's, what wouldn't you like about that? And then the rest of the week, if I can, I get to see who needs a little help here and there. Like, this person moved into a house, somebody really nice. This was a house that's been a Section 8 house for a long time, and it's been empty for a while, right? And this person, they need a hand up. They got kids, and it's a teeny house. I can't see how this house is going to help them out. It'll probably help them out because up here in the mountains, I mean, right now it's almost probably pushing 70, but tomorrow it'll be 20, right? And we're going to have 2 more snowstorms, and it'll be cold at least 8 more times, like, in the teens. Like this beginning of end of Sunday night, Monday, it was 18 degrees that night, right? Today's Tuesday. Like yesterday and today, it was really cold, and then it got warm, right? By 3 in the morning, I kicked all my covers off and was rolling around in my clamshell. And it's right now, like I said, probably pushing towards 70. And but it's supposed to be in the 20s tomorrow, and maybe if the storm moves 100 miles our way, we might have 10 inches of snow. Otherwise, we're going to get a bunch of rain and sleet. So, and I'm supposed to see a bunch of doctors tomorrow. So I'm going to get picked up by a friend of mine tomorrow morning, and I will go to wherever they got to go in the morning, and then they'll take me off to the doctors. And if the weather is really, if that storm does hit us, we'll just go back to his house and, enjoy his gas heat and his everything. And I will, that's why I spent 6 days when we had 15 inches of snow. And he came and got me when we already had 5 inches of snow on the ground. And he's a trooper, that guy. He's almost my age, but he's probably 5 years younger. But he came, and he grew up around here, so he didn't come down that Forest Service road. He didn't come down that snaky, stupid road that I live on. He walked in a mile, and it's snowing. The electricity's still working. The lights are on. I'm wrapped up in my electric blanket, and I'm expected to ride it out, right? And, he's outside, and, I hear him singing, strangers in the night. And so go out there. He's all bundled up. He said, come on, I'm taking you home. The girls are upset that you're not there. Meaning his wife and his mother-in-law. And so, okay. So, and those ladies can cook. And the other mother-in-law, that's two grandmas and his wife. And so, we... I stuff a bunch of stuff. What do I need? I need my pills. I put them in a bag and throw that in a garbage bag. My sleeping bag, I need that. I need my electric blanket, I need that. I need my Crocs so I can take a shower. I haven't taken a shower up until then. I hadn't taken a shower in a year. You don't need one. If you eat the right stuff, food, it doesn't. Your skin is your biggest organ, right? Processor of toxin in your body. Why you smell is because you're eating shit. So anyway. Or there's something seriously wrong with you. I mean, you're already dead and you're rotting from the inside out. So, and that's when you die, you once you have rigor mortis, man, you go into a puddle real quick. So anyway, he gets me. We're walking through the snow. It was like Dr. Zhivago, and he's singing Strangers in the Night, and we can't see anything, and we're going up this road, and I'm praying, and he's praying too, but singing Strangers in the Night. And it was like walking in a spring day. I wasn't cold. He wasn't cold. It was a blizzard, but it wasn't like blowing in our face, stinging our thing, right? And I had gloves on him, and I had my two walking sticks. And he was carrying my garbage bag, and we, make it to his truck, a mile and a half later, and then we have to back out a road about a tenth of a mile, well, quarter mile, and it's through this squiggly mountain on one side, cliff on the other side. Everything's white. It's a whiteout. And, so he's backing out, and he's looking on his mirrors, and I'm on the cliffside. And I can't see that and I'm just saying, praise Jesus, praise Jesus, praise Jesus. And it's a pretty new rocket ship he's got. I said, wait a minute. He goes, what? Doesn't your thing have the where you back out and it shows you the yellow lines? And he goes, yeah, I wouldn't trust that thing. I said, turn it on. So he turns it on, and it does. It clanks down, f-stops down, so you can actually see the road in the snow. There's 8 inches of snow there, and you can see the road. It's got the yellow lines. Just stay in those yellow lines, you're not going to die. So he says he's looking in his mirrors, and I'm looking at where the cliff is, and I'm looking at the yellow lines. I go, go a little right, go a little left. And we get out of there, and that took us almost 20 minutes to go a quarter, probably even more, half an hour to go a quarter mile. And we get out, and He said, when I came to County Road, had been just plowed. I came in to get you behind a snowplow and a salter. And we got there, the freaking road was covered in, you didn't even know that happened. Anyway, so we get, out on the road and we're going along, and this is up and down and up and down and up and down and woo, like this. And we can't, so, and he's talking to me and telling me, so you went out to boy, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden I said, slow down. So I put my hand on his hand, his hand's on the wheel. I put my hand on his arm, slow down 10 miles. So he just takes his foot. I said, don't brake, just take your foot off the gas. And he's doing maybe 30, right? Because you need to go up and down those things. You can't go slow, and you can't go fast, right? So you got to go just right. It's definitely Goldilocks. But this guy's born into this. So he takes his foot off the gas, and he looks, and there is this gray car that has come down this hill, comes around a tight corner, and right where we're going to be if we hadn't taken our foot off the gas, he is still like doing 50 down that hill, and it's a 90-degree. And so he, obviously, this is a moron who shouldn't be on the road, has no idea about this road. I mean, I've been on this road for 22 years. I know every square inch. And so he realizes it's a 90-degree turn, and he turns. And luckily for him, if he had not noticed that and he had plowed into the guardrail, he would have gone into the forest and died. But because he tried to make the turn, the vehicle turned and he slid sideways into the guardrails, and it took out the side of his car, and then the car headed at us, and it went, because he had his foot up the gas, it went right in front of us and smashed into the side of the mountain on that side. And, we just kind of took the turn, went up the hill and went over. And as we went over and went down, you could see he was, he could still drive. He was still moving. He was still going, because he said, should we stop it? And I said, no way, Jose. And I'm just going, praise God, praise Jesus, praise God, praise Jesus, praise God, praise Jesus. And I had conscious intent on this one. Not anyway. So I'm going on, and tap 2. So we had to go 10, 11 miles to get to his house, maybe a little bit more the whole time. And we had 2 more incidents like that, right? So I was the radar. The next time there was a person who was right off. I could see him coming. You couldn't see him, but he was on this other road around the lake, and he was coming onto this road. And you could see how he was coming, that he wasn't going to stop at the stop sign. He was just going to shoot right on the road. And I'm going, And I say, take your foot up the gas. And we were kind of going down a hill. And so, again, we slowed down by about 20%. And he sees him, and this guy comes right out, right? And now if we had been going as fast, he would have plowed right into us, right? And he was coming down that same hill off that road, and that's why he wasn't going to stop. But he was going way too fast, so he shot out in front of us. And, instead of making the turn, because he had to make a right turn, he tried to. His wheels locked up, and it didn't matter. And he just went right across the road, and there's a big gully there. And he kind of tipped. Luckily, he slowed down enough where he just tipped over into the gully. And that was it. He's there. And so we make it, up the hill, and we're coming around. And there's this big hill that we have to come down before this other side, this big hill we have to go up, right? So we basically are, I've got my eyes out. I'm looking, because there's about 4 of the roads that, just like this moron who cut in front of us, there's that, right? And so what I see is someone turn on that road, but they do it really slow, right? Okay, that's good. So they don't, slide into the gully over there, but they're going too slow. So they haven't, they got enough where it's going to go down a little bit and then up the big hill. Well, they've actually brake, which is, no, don't do that. This is where, when you're going down, let yourself go 10 more miles, because maybe you'll make it up over that hill. Not this guy. No. He puts on his brakes and almost comes to a stop, and then starts to go up the hill. He's not going nowhere. And we can see it because we're around up here on top of this mountain, and we still have to come around and then come up to where he is. So we got about 3 miles before we get to this moron. And we can watch what he's doing. And so he's now like flooring it and right, and whole back of his car just totally slowly. And he's just going faster and faster to the point we can actually hear it 2 miles away. And he just slides right into that gully and goes down there. And then what happens, which is the most amazing thing, is if this guy had waited a few minutes, hadn't gone, because I was watching him come down that road, if he had gone on that road too fast and he kind of was sliding around, I think that's what freaked him out about the main road. And if he had just slowed down a little bit, what happened was a county plow truck with the salter and sander behind him were coming like a train, right? And so he was on that side and he was getting that whole side. Another truck was like in the middle, getting that whole side. And then there was another truck that was getting, heading straight towards us. Anyway, so those guys are in the trouble, but we are come up and they see us. The guy who's like in our lane gets over into the other lane. And once we pass those plow trucks, the road is clear. It is beautiful. And we got another 5 miles, maybe 6 or 7, and the road is in great shape. And when we turn on his, farmer road, someone has just recently come down that thing with a plow and some salt. So we get home, no problem. But I get into that house and I'm going, praise Jesus, praise Jesus. And because we wouldn't have been there without Jesus, that's for sure. And that is what it's about. It's not like some, belonging to a country club or being part of a banking cartel or even, S&H green stamps, how many green stamps you put in a book. No, it's your belief, your faith, and your actions, So we acted, the whole time because as we're backing up, when I said, and when we're on that little part of the road that we, quarter mile back out of, and I said, why don't you use that thing? I wouldn't trust that. I said, no, we got a faith in God, right? So that was our showing our faith in God, that God had this material device that he could show that, yep, these guys have faith, right? So God gave us the grace to get there alive. And I just kept thanking God, maybe 4 times a second. Praise Jesus, praise God, praise Jesus. Anyway, so since then, other things have gone, like, so when I left with him, I was great to throw my pills in the garbage bag and my sleeping bag and my flip-flops and a few other things into that bag and make it out of there. But I didn't, close the place down. I turned the juice off for the man cave, but I didn't, I didn't turn the water off. And that's why the water froze, because, if I was there, I'd be using it, right? So that it wouldn't have frozen up. But I was gone for 6 days, and that's when it got 30 degrees below zero and with wind chill 60 degrees. So that's why my water and everything froze. So. But again, I came back and there were a bunch of issues that I had to deal with. I had a couple of leaks that I didn't have before. Anyway. But that was good because by being exposed to that, I kind of fixed them, because then about a week later, we had 20 inches of rain overnight. And by me fixing all that stuff, the place kind of survived a lot better than before me knowing what was wrong. You know what I mean? So that's what it is to be, listening to God. It's not like, yo, Al, no, you're psychotic or, if you're hearing voices, change your medication. But let's see. Anybody say anything? Cool story. So here we are. We're right on the edge of spring. I mean, it's still February. This is definitely winter, but it's 70 degrees. Kids, things aren't what they should be. And if you don't realize that this is all being manipulated by the yahoos at the secret societies who's been spraying our atmosphere, go Google, chemtrails. There's a way number of people of that. Go Google morons for Joe Biden, right? And they will show you how wacko Donald Trump is. Go morons for Donald Trump, and I'll show you, and you'll see that, they're the same, right? Go look at all the, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, right? It's almost the same channel. Then you go down that one level that, all of those pundits, talk radio. I mean, I heard this guy on talk radio going on and on again how, the people in the Gaza Strip, they all need to be, just incinerated. They should drop a nuke. And now they're all down in that Rafah place. Just drop a nuke on them. Get rid of them once and for all. They ain't Christian. They're well, no. 20% of everybody in the Gaza Strip were not just Christians. About 40% were Christians. Almost half of those people are Christians, but 20% were actually Southern Baptists. 3 of those big hospitals in the north and further towards Rafah, and that other town that got blown away. They don't really talk about that one, where this was the center of, Hamas, blah, blah, blah. And they took out and that was a Baptist hospital, Southern Baptist Hospital, right? And they set up tanks and, sharpshooters around it on high buildings, and they just took out patients and doctors and nurses. And if they were trying to get them out and put them in ambulances and marked them with red crosses, the tanks took them out. No one really, I mean, they went after. There is no infrastructure left in Gaza, period. And now they're all starving, right? They're at this place where they are starving. They're all going to start really dying of diseases and starving, right? And there is going to be no anything. They're not going to stop shooting. And they're going to start in Ramadan. And that's when those people are basically going to turn into zombies, right? Between the PTSD, the stress, the not eating, the starving, all the diseases that are floating around. And you're going to see the videos of them like, coming, going after lines of IDF tanks, with 10,000 of these, they'll just be hitting them with tank shells. And then what are you audience going to do, right? And it's being done to basically traumatize the planet into sides, right? And there are people go, anybody who says anything bad about, what's going on there, then, we're there to defend ourselves. And please. It's those guys. What's going to happen is, the majority of the people in Israel have drank the Kool-Aid, right? But at a certain point, it's going to become really, once they nuke, once the IDF nukes Rafah and Lebanon, but before, they're going to nuke Rafah, and then the guys up there in Lebanon are just going to unload everything they have at Israel, and it's going to take at Tel Aviv and their port city, and they'll probably kill somewhere between, 20,000 and 100,000, maybe a little more, right? And that's when Israel will go nuts. They will nuke, Lebanon. They will nuke Iran. They will nuke the Houthi. They will nuke Syria. They will nuke a lot of people. And there will be a lot of Chinese and Russians in them. And once those people get whacked, Russia will decide, well, if Israel can do that, we're going to nuke, because what's going to happen during that time is that, it says it right there on Putin's script, you've got now, 300,000 guys, that are semi-fresh, and you've got all these tanks from 1957. Just make sure you got enough gasoline and shells, and just go down that road again, and just take Iran. Take Ukraine, right? And again, Russia will be suckered in, because what will happen is all of this has been played. Oh, we have no bullets, we can't shoot. Oh, we lost this little city. Oh, so you better give us that $60 billion or else. But they have a lot of weapons, right, that they haven't been using, right? And so they still have a lot of those javelins. They still have a bunch of man-pads, and they still have, which they haven't really been using, things like ATACMS, which are as good artillery, but better because they can do about 600 miles. So they have artillery that can reach into Russia. They have artillery that can just plaster everything that Russia has that was Ukraine, right? Crimea, everything. And that's what they'll do. They'll let those tanks come in to a certain, in to where they can stop the bottle at the back so they can't get out. And they will take them out just like they did the last time. And Russians will do the same thing, try and land a bunch of Marines in one of those airports near Kiev and Odessa. And they will take them out. And then they will start, taking with these long-range artillery, taking out transportation hubs in Russia and hitting fuel dumps and fuel lines. Within inside 100 miles of Moscow, they're going to start hitting things. And there are going to be a lot of people in Russia who are Russians who have been getting more and more upset with what is going on in Russia. And the Ukrainians have been going in there and giving them stuff to have a rebellion. And that's going to take off. And it's going to be not pretty. And that's when Putin will go, well, it says right here on the script, the IDF did this to those guys, so I can do this to, Kiev and to Odessa and Poland, right? Because that's where our major hub is. And once this kind of happens, the dam will bust and we will be having C-17s flying into that place in Poland, dumping a lot of stuff off. And, the routes of bringing that stuff from that Polish place into places in Ukraine are well worn, and that's when Russia will hit that place with a nuke. And then it's all in on NATO. And I would say that should happen before the 4th of July, all of that. Not total nuclear war, but an exchange of maybe 20 nuclear weapons, which will mess up the world like forget about it, right? And then, right on cue, I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille. Aliens will attack right on the 4th of July. So that's what my audience is going down to 1 from about 7 to 1. So don't believe a word I say. That's just part of the story. And no one asked a question. I'd love a question. But let's see, how much juice do I got left? What time is it? I'm actually getting hungry. I haven't really eaten anything. So I had a little something, but that was about 5 hours ago. So I'm going to say, hope you enjoyed this one. I'm going to go down the back road, go on the squirrely road, go on the Forest Service road, go on my road, and be home. Right? So, hippity hop, hippity hop. Okay. Love you guys. Stay well. Talk to you maybe tomorrow. What is tomorrow? Tomorrow's, maybe. I got a lot of doctoring to do. Plus, the weather may be totally squirrely, so I have no idea. But probably. If I'm waiting in waiting rooms, you'll probably hear from me. Okay.